Hello there. We're going to be working on some problems today that involve subtracting mixed numbers where the fractions have the same denominators, but we are going to need to use regrouping to finish the problem or to do the subtraction. So here's the first one we're going to do. We're going to take 8 and 1/3 minus 3 and 2/3. So if you like to use the fractions first method where you separate the fractions from the whole numbers, and do the fractions first, you would be starting with 1/3 minus 2/3. Now, the problem here is if you have 1/3, you can't take away 2/3 from that. There's not enough. So what you would have to do is go over to the whole number that goes along with the 1/3 and take one whole away from that. That means you would have 7 whole numbers left, and then you would have a 1 that you're going to put right here. So now what we're going to be doing is 1 and 1/3 minus 2/3. To make that 1 and 1/3 something that we can subtract, we can either rewrite 1 as 3/3 and add it to the 1/3, which would give us 4/3. Or if you know how to turn a mixed number into an improper fraction, you can go ahead and do that. So if you know how to do that, that would be the denominator times the whole number, which is 3 times 1, plus the numerator that's already there, which would give you 4/3. So either way, you're going to end up with 4/3 here. Then we can subtract the 2/3 from that, where we end up with 2/3. So that is going to be the fraction part of our answer. It's going to be, oops, there we go. It's going to be 2/3. Now we have to go back and we have to subtract the whole numbers. So we're going to take 7 and subtract 3. 7 minus 3 is 4. So our final answer here should be 4 and 2/3. Here is our next example. We're going to take 9 and 2/9 and subtract 4 and 5/9. So let's go ahead and start by doing fractions first. That means I'm going to move down 2/9 to subtract 5/9 from that. The problem is I can't take 5/9 away from 2/9. There isn't enough. So I'm going to need to go over to the whole number that's with the 2/9 over here and take one of those away, leaving us with just 8 over here. I'm going to have to give that whole number to the smaller fraction right here. Now I can rewrite that one whole as 9/9. Now the reason I chose 9/9 is because that way it will match the denominator of the 2/9 and the 5/9. So that means this would be 9/9 plus 2/9 and then minus 5/9. So if you have 9/9 plus 2/9, that's 11/9. Remember, we're keeping the ninths the same. So 9 plus 2 is 11, and 11 minus 5 is 6. So that would be 6/9 as your fraction. If you wanted to go ahead and simplify that, you could by dividing both the top and the bottom by 2, or sorry, by 3, then you would end up with 2/3 as your fraction. So I'm going to put 2/3 up here. Now I have to go back and subtract the whole numbers. So I'm going to be taking 8 and subtracting 4 from that. 8 minus 4 is 4. So my final answer to this would be 4 and 2/3. Okay, here is our next example. We're going to take 5 and 1/8 and subtract 4 and 5/8. So let's bring those fractions down to deal with those first. 1/8 minus 5/8. But again, here the problem is I can't take 5/8 away from 1/8 because there's not enough for me to take away. So what I want to do is go over to that whole number of 5 that's with the 1/8, cross that off and make it a 4. And I'm going to take that one whole number and put it next to that smaller fraction. So now I have 1 and 1/8. I'm going to rewrite the 1 as 8 over 8, which is the same as 1 whole, plus the 1/8, and then subtract the 5/8. So now I'm going to keep 8 as my denominator. 8 plus 1 is 9, and 9 minus 5 is 4. So this should be 4/8. If I want to, I can simplify that by dividing both the top and the bottom by 4, which would give me 1/2. And 4 is half of 8. So that would be our fraction here. Then I would need to go back and subtract the whole numbers. But as you can see, I've got 4 minus 4 here, which is 0. So I don't need to put a 0 here. I mean, you could, but you don't need to. You could just leave your answer as 1/2. Okay, here's the last example we're going to do. We're going to do 7 and 5/9 minus 3 and 8/9. So let's pull those fractions down to do those first. 5/9 minus 8/9. Now I can't take 8/9 away from 5/9 because there's not enough to take away. So what I'm going to have to do is go to my whole number that is with the 5/9, that's 7, cross that off and take one of those whole numbers away, leaving 6, and give it to that smaller fraction. Now I'm going to rewrite 1 whole as 9/9. And I chose 9 because the denominator in our problem is 9. That'll make it easier. Plus 5/9, because those are together, minus the 8/9. So we're going to keep 9 as the denominator. 9 plus 5 is 14, and 14 minus 8 is 6. So this becomes 6/9, which we could also simplify by dividing both the top and the bottom by 3. So that would give us 2/3 as the fraction. So I'm going to go ahead and put 2/3 here. Now I need to go back and subtract the whole numbers. So I'm going to take 6 minus 3, which is 3. So our final answer would be 3 2/3.